Alright, I'm still working on the 2016 Nissan Frontier, doing some more troubleshooting. We have no drivability issues as of right now. It's a lot cooler out right now, so I'm really wondering if it's temperature related. We know it's the TCM inside the transmission control module, but I also did some more research. There's a little pigtail harness. So the harness that we unplugged on the side of the transmission obviously went away. All the bias voltage went back to 2.5 volts from 3, 4, 5 up to almost 6 and 7 volts. Well, there's a pigtail harness after that goes into the TCM. If that has loose connections, just from other experience, it will cause your bias voltage to go high. And it's a lot cooler out now. And then the other vehicle I did was a Chrysler minivan. When it was a lot warmer, I noticed the bias voltage would jump up as well. So I wonder if it's temperature related. Could still be in the TCM itself or the pigtail harness inside of the transmission. But either way, the TCM or the harness, to get to that, you have to drain the fluid, pop the pan off to get access to that, which I was going to do. But this vehicle's got a 3-year 36,000 mile warranty, but it's got also a 5-year 60,000 mile 5-year 60,000 mile powertrain, which covers transmission stuff as well. Even in the fine print per Nissan, it even says TCM, covers the harness, solenoids, and so forth. Well, right now we have no drivability issues, no colds in it. Hooked up to my breakout box there. I'm on can low right now. Well, if you look, I'm good to go. It's running perfect. Vehicle's on running. I'll show you the bias voltage here. Hang on, let me get this zoomed in a little bit. I'm off. It's 2.5, 2.6 volts, right? So that's perfect. Yeah, 2.5, 2.6. So that's obviously can low, going from 2.5 volts down to 1.25, 1.5. Let's go to can high. Same thing, 2.5 to 3.5, 3 3/4, roughly around there. So that is good to go. Let's just check the bias voltage. Put a tracer in there, 2.6. So when I first started this, before I started recording this video, I had 2.5, so it did go up 100 millivolts or 0.1 of a volt. But it's been running for like, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 minutes now. That has something to do with it. But right now, there is no calls in it. Everything's running as advertised. So either way, you need to get into the transmission, drain the fluid, pull the pan off, and then I would imagine it's probably something with that harness. Loose connection, whether it's power and ground loose connection or the can high, can low lines loose connection, because I've seen that before, and their bias voltage will go way up. But that's all up to Nissan, because this thing is under warranty. It's got a few weeks to a couple months left, but a minimum of a few weeks for the warranty. So that is it for this vehicle for now. Alrighty, I'm going to do a full system scan again on this Nissan. We'll load the program up here just to show if there's any codes. I don't know if anything came back or not. We'll go in the diagnosis, auto scan. So we're going to scan all the modules on the network. Engine pass, no faults. So before it was all those U codes, right? There was no communication between any of the modules because of the bias voltage. Once you get like 3.5 volts or more, it won't communicate. It starts doing crazy ass stuff because it doesn't know what to expect. So far, everything's good again. But it is a lot cooler. All the temperature dropped out here in the last 3 or 4 hours significantly with this weather rolling in. That's why I believe it's heat related. The warmer it was, I just knew we had more voltage issues for our bias voltage. So every module's picking up on the bus. Let it finish up here. Even the transmission, nothing. almost done. Alright, so there's 9 modules. No faults on any of them. Let's go back to our scope. Still on can high. 2.5 volts. 2.6. Let's go to can low. Same thing, good square wave, right? Yeah, 2.5, 2.6. So that's good. I wanted to show you one other thing. Everything's running great now, working great, but I'm going to go what they call the K line. So if you go down here, it's pin 7 on the breakout box. I'm going to go to pin 7, 6, 7. If I go to pin 7 there, I got to go back to a 20 volt scale. You change my time base. So that's battery volt or alternator voltage right there. What does this mean? So we're 13.4 volts. Right, what the alternator's at running, right? Well, if you go back in and communicate with the transmission module, the K line is for communicating. So there's your signals there, right? Why is it reading now? It's, you know, battery voltage, alternator voltage to 0 volts. Why is it reading? Because we're trying to communicate with the transmission control module. So you go to live data. Number 3, the modules on this truck had that, which is the transmission control module, the ABS module, and the 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive module. They're all in the K line, pin 7. That's how we could communicate from the very beginning, even though this had a CAN bus issue. Well, that's pulling up. You look at the scope, so you can see your 0s and 1s there. But you have to be able to communicate with the scan tool to get that data to come through. That just proves our K line is good to go. But we never had an issue with the K line from the very beginning. It was a clue that we had an issue with our CAN bus line. So no issues at all. I'm gonna go back to can low. Check it again here. Do a 5 volt scale. Resume. We gotta go in and change our time base. Let's go to 1 millisecond division. Yeah, 2.5 volts. Everything's going good now. What else is cool with this scope is you can go to serial decoding channel A, turn it on. First I got to pick it. We're on can low. So here's all your protocol: can high, can low, different you know, bus systems. So we're going to go to can low, turn it on. You can change your baud rate and all this stuff. But we're going to do hexadecimal. Go back. So if you look down here, here's all your serial decoding, your data bytes, all your stuff there. Start time for messages, start time. So if I stop this, all right, let's just put a cursor in here. Let's go. I'm just guessing here. Like, so there's a message from there. There's a message from there to there. Starts at 6.7 milliseconds, ends at 6.9. So that's probably this one right here. Starts at 6.7, ends at 6.9. I mean, I'm off a little bit because I'm just using my fingers, but that's that message right there. So this message you could look at here. You could use all this information, and you could look up the hexadecimal form or binary form and determine what it's doing. Maybe it's opening an injector, maybe it's closing an injector, right? But our scan tool tells us that. We don't need to get that in depth with this thing. But you could also go back and go to binary, play. there's your zeros and ones, right there. ID, going through all this here sequence, which I'm still getting used to all this stuff here. But you stop it, same thing. See what this, well, let's pick this message here. Just kind of guessing where it starts and stops. 5.9 to 6.1. That's probably that one, because that one's going to be on the next screen. So there's your message down there. You could use that if you wanted to know what the zeros and ones meant. Like I said, if it's turn on injector, turn off injector, who knows. So now, what else is cool is you could zoom in here. Kind of hard to do this with the camera filming. That's your zeros and ones, right? That's the message there we're decoding. But threw my bias voltage off. Hang on, or my scaling, I mean. There, 0 to 5 volts. 2.5 bias voltage, can low. 2.5 voltage, can high. So everything's good to go now. Like again, like I said, I think it's a heat related issue. So you can still take it to the dealer. They can troubleshoot it. They can, you know, try to get it warm, or reproduce the same conditions, but they're gonna have to reproduce the same conditions. Obviously, get it warm or whatever it needs to take, and also B, they're going to have to use an oscilloscope to find this problem. So that is it for this vehicle. Alrighty, I know I keep saying I'm done, but I just wanted to show you guys. I've been driving it around for like an hour now, and I'm still hooked up, and the bias voltage is still good. I'm trying to get the transmission warm, hitting bumps, because if it's pin retention, you know, hitting bumps would change it, or a wire loose or something by hitting bumps, or temperature related, trying to warm everything up. But like I said, it's dropped 20-30 degrees, so everything is good now for bias voltage on can low, can high. Let me get it done. 2.5 can low, and then 2.5 can high. I just unplugged it and plugged it back in, so we're good, right? So been hitting bumps, getting it warm, no changes, right? So the bias voltage is good. I firmly believe there's something wrong with that pigtail harness in the tranny or the TCM, whether it's a loose pin, or probably more suspect would be like loose pins or something, or a short to voltage that's causing the issue, because obviously we had high voltage before. Wires chafing or something like that, pin retention. I think that's what's going on. If you look at this pin out here, that connector going to the trannies, there's 10 pins. Well, kind of hard to see in the light there, but terminal 1 is always on, terminal 2 is always on. That's battery voltage for power supply, memory backup. So when we had the battery on from the first couple of videos, part 1 and part 2, that's when we noticed the change. So there's always getting power to the back, right? So something has to be bleeding over from this harness going inside the transmission, and that pigtail harness or the TCM. Pin 3 is can low, pin 4 is your K line. That's one of the ones that go right directly to the TCM. The other end of it goes to pin 7 on the diagnostic link connector. 5 is your ground, 6 is your power supply, another power supply, 7 is your backup when you put in reverse, 8 is can low, 9 is your starter relay. With the TCM unplugged, this vehicle will not start until the TCM is plugged in, because it controls the control side of the relay. The transmission control module does for the starter relay. And 10 is your other ground. So again, I think it's pin retention or short to voltage causing some issues there, and I would explain all of our resistance readings and our voltage readings. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the vehicle off and check the resistance across the network and see where we're at with that. Alrighty, everything's off. I still got some lights on in here. Actually, let me turn these off. Shut the door. We'll time out eventually. But anyways, we got 60 ohms, right? 58 to 66 ohms on the bus. So our bus is, well, it's good, which I expected to be good because our bias voltage was good. So what he's going to have to do now, obviously everything's good. A temperature change here or whatever wire inside the harness, on the pigtail harness in the transmission or the TCM is chafing or causing issues with loose connection. Take it to Nissan. The only thing you got to worry about there is, are they going to reproduce the same conditions? Because they got to do two main things. A, reproduce the same conditions, whether it's heat related, wires chafing. And B, they need to use an oscilloscope to actually find this problem. Hopefully they can find it, because if he's only got, 3 weeks left on the warranty and they say there's nothing wrong, and then, it drives fine for the next few weeks to a month or two. But say after that it acts up again, well, then it's out of warranty. So it's something I believe that needs to be documented as soon as possible so we can get this issue resolved. And obviously I'd go in there and pull the tranny pan off and do all the wire integrity checks, but since it's under warranty, I am not going to do that. I don't want to avoid the warranty. That is completely up to Nissan to go through that on their own and find this problem, since it is got a 5-year, 60,000 mile powertrain warranty. So that is the final for this truck.